Okay, so here we are. We are live. This is my first StreamYard test. I'm delighted to welcome Kevin Stanley to the studio here, and we'll see what we can manage to create in terms of a broadcast. Now, we are both actually at Worldcon, which means we are in virtual New Zealand, but I'm here in England. Kevin, you're there in Nevada. I have no idea which time zone I'm in.
It's been quite an experience, particularly as I'm also trying to do some work for my day job. Uh, Fortunately, I have actually now ended that week, so I have the rest of time to myself. But
Yeah,
uh,
I feel you. I mean, I'm fortunate in that, you know, I I have a number of jobs, and I was able to finish most of them before Worldcon. The thing before Worldcon started, the my main money earning job. My other main money earning job is on hiatus because of the virus, and that you can't do face to face training these days. So really, the only job I've got is Wizard's Tower, and I've been busy working on that today because, of course, we've got the new Juliet McKenna book. We did the cover reveal a couple of days ago, and I've just been getting the thing ready to go on pre-orders.
great.
So tomorrow, tomorrow there will be some announcements from Wizard's Tower with hopefully a whole bunch of exciting stuff. Stay tuned for that, folks. But Kevin, how have you been enjoying Worldcon thus far?
I will say this: I'm enjoying it a lot more than I expected to, frankly. When the convention announced that by necessity that it was going to have to, it was either canceled, postponed, or go online, and they chose the last option. And I was quite skeptical of how well it would work. And it's not been completely smooth and seamless. It is, after all, for us the biggest thing Worldcon fandom has ever tried to pull off as far as a pivot on that scale. But it's been a lot better than I expected. Admittedly, it just seems like, okay, I'm spending all my time in Zoom calls, which is very much like my day job attending meetings. But on the other hand, it is a little bit different because these are not coworkers, not bosses. These are my friends, and sometimes friends I don't know, friends I haven't met yet. But
Mm.
and we're getting a lot of the same level of experience in that respect. I'd rather be there in person. I don't know who wouldn't be, but this is pretty good, really.
Yeah, I've been very, very impressed with the way that Con Zealand has managed to pull it all together because there isn't really any software that can make this thing work the way that it should do. And consequently, they've had to take a whole bunch of different pieces of software and mash them together and hope that they work quite well. So we've got the Grenadine software, which is running the convention, though in terms of memberships and scheduling and who's on program and all that sort of thing. Then you've got Zoom, which is providing the actual programming rooms, most of which is being done by webinars, but they're also using standard Zoom meetings for things like cafe clutches. And then you've got Discord, which is providing the social side of it. I was watching earlier today a recording of the Modern Criticism panel with Gary Wolfe and Liza Tromby and a few others. And there was much hilarity about the idea that something which was supposed to provide the social element of the convention being called Discord. But, you know, it works.
Yeah, and it's pretty accurate as many in a sense, not in a negative sense, but in the sense of, well, everybody singing all at the same time, and not necessarily in the same key or even the same book or even the same language.
Yeah. Sure, yeah, but well, I mean, the language appears to be English, and
Yeah.
thank goodness we are lucky in that so many people around the world speak English, and they are adapting to us rather than us adapting to them, because it could be that much more difficult for us to be able to do an event like this.
I do think, though, that perhaps with a little bit of more time, if it were necessary to do this again, and I actually hope it isn't necessary to be done on this complete 100% scale ever again, but we don't know. But perhaps some more accommodation of different language streams, and just say, okay, these rooms are in this language and these are in this language, and so forth. It at least seems feasible. Okay. But you're right. They did have to throw together a pile of things that don't necessarily work with each other. And and there have been some people involved with this who have put in a phenomenal amount of effort. I feel for them. You and I have both organized Worldcons. We know how much work it is to do one in person. This is trying to create something new, very new, and still retain as much of the feel of an in-person event that we've been attending for, well, this is the 78th year. I haven't been to all of them, only the last 25 or so.
Well, I've only been going to them for 25 years. You've been going there for longer than that.
1989. How long would that be then?
That's 31 years.
31 years, and then also one more so the 32, because also 1984 there was a gap in there, but still, okay, so over 30 years now. So yes,
sure. Now, I mean, obviously, we all hope that the world will return to a situation where people are able to travel, where people can gather in large numbers. But from my point of view, that the next two Worldcons are definitely going to be in America. The chances are that the one after that will be in America as well. And because I'm barred from entering the country, I'm not going to be able to go to any of those. So I've really been enjoying the fact that I can participate in the New Zealand Worldcon virtually, and I'm hoping that I will be able to participate in future Worldcons in the same way.
Yes, I'm reminded of the fact that it seems like you call it feature creep. I mean, Worldcons 50 years ago or so were a bunch of people in one room, maybe two, and that was the event. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the idea was, well, let's have more than one room with programming stuff going on. And then she says, oh, well, let's get it even bigger. And then once you start doing it, it never goes back, because and now every time you add a feature, everyone assumes that feature will stay there for all future ones. And if you fail to do so, then you get yelled at. It's very rare that you see something retired. I was involved with a Worldcon that went through heroic efforts to produce a film program, because up until that point it was said, no, it is not a proper Worldcon unless there's a science fiction film program. And then not too long afterwards, people said no and stopped doing it because no one would turn up for it.
Although New Zealand does have a film program.
They do. Yeah. And they had the people points for doing it. That's the thing. So but standard features tend to just keep growing. And that, of course, causes that scope creep, changes the nature of the convention and adds additional resource costs. Running a convention online does not mean that it's free. This must have cost a tremendous amount of money. It certainly cost a whole lot of people. I am very much looking forward to what you might call the postmortems and the debriefings, so that we will get some idea. It is very useful that in general, the Worldcon convention running community is pretty much open about trying to talk to each other and tell people what it did. We'll know in some time how much did it cost, and we will be able to plan for it better.
Yeah. So in terms of this feature creep, I'm reminded that many years ago when I was doing Emerald City, that I came up with my laws of fandom in the style of Asimov's laws of robotics. And the second law is the one that has proved most useful and applicable. And it states that any innovation in fandom, when it's done the first time, is a horrible new idea that must be resisted at all costs. But if it's repeated the next year, it becomes a sacred and holy tradition that must be preserved.
Yeah, I mean, I might give it until the third, but the second one is an aberration that must be looked at with great distrust. And by the third time, it has always been done this way and must never be changed.
Exactly. Yes. So fingers crossed, people in DC and Chicago will commit to having at least some part of their programming done virtually. Even if it's only the having a Discord server for the convention, that would be a start. But I would love to see some virtual programming as well for the benefit of those of us who can't be in Chicago.
I agree.
Or DC.
Right. I agree. And I will say that I have sat in on the question and answer sessions for both Discon 3, next year's Worldcon, and the question sessions aimed at, well, actually not the question session, but the site selection announcement made yesterday officially declaring that, well, it was no question with 90% of the votes that Chicago was elected. And asking about, but in both cases, there were questions asked about, are you going to do this? The answers amount to probably. We need to look at it more. We need to learn from Con Zealand and find out what happened, but they certainly didn't rule it out, and I'm sure that it will become an aspect of it.
Now, it is now Saturday in New Zealand. It's still Friday where we are,
yes,
but it's Saturday in New Zealand. And the main piece of programming on Saturday at Worldcon is all to do with these things.
That's right.
I can see one in the background with you. Other side.
There it is.
Yes,
other side.
over there. Whatever.
Yeah.
It is Hugo Day.
That's right.
So, and you and I, of course, are responsible for maintaining the Hugo Awards website. Normally at Worldcon, we would actually be there in the auditorium, or at least you would, and we would be doing text-based coverage of the event through the Hugo Awards website. This year, of course, there's no point in that. Hardly anybody is going to be in the auditorium, if anyone. So everything will be done by the Con Zealand Twitter feed and so on. But it's all very exciting. I've got a few hours left to eat some dinner and get changed. So have you got any special plans for Hugo night?
Oh my gosh, I had special plans at the opening ceremony where I was. You may see my World Science Fiction Society hat back there. I was wearing my uniform for that. I don't expect to do that here. It is so warm here with the temperature going up this afternoon to into 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. Putting on my business suit to attend seems like a waste. Certainly, I don't really want to melt, so I'm more likely to just stay. That is one advantage, I suppose. But and of course, nobody's going to be able to see each other because it is a broadcast. It's not like a Zoom call or any of the smaller things. You can show each other, and we have seen that throughout the weekend. I'm going to be here, watching the event online. The Fantasy Network has published the address where it will be shown online, not just to our members, but to anybody. I am very, very much hoping that everybody will be able to see it. The Retro Hugo ceremony 2 nights ago, was challenged by technical difficulties caused by the amount of bandwidth in question. I think it likely that experience will have given them the information they needed in order to do a better job. But tonight's event is significantly more challenging than the Retro Hugos or any of the other events I think were. Although I would say the Retro Hugos were followed by the Sir Julius Vogel Awards, which were in fact one of the tiny number of actual in-person live events at the convention. And they were, because they are the New Zealand Awards and the New Zealanders are allowed to travel again within their country. And that worked. And by the time we got to the Vogels, they had ironed out the bandwidth issues, and I was able to watch that as well. So I'm hoping for that. But the Hugo Awards is an intermix of pre-recorded material and then live announcements taking place from all over the world. And to the extent they can pull it off, cuts to the winner, whoever that is, which won't be revealed until then. I really would not want to try to be the director of this show. It's bad enough trying to cut between half a dozen cameras. In this case, you're looking at in effect, 100 different cameras and trying to pick one.
Sure, yeah. And that, of course, is one of the issues with these virtual events, is that you, as the director, are no longer in control of all of the technology. You are reliant upon the internet connection at the other end of the people that you are bringing in. And if they have flaky internet, you're going to get poor quality. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and I think people will understand that. I mean, watching the problems that were happening the other night, the issues there, people were, well, they were complaining, but it was most, I would call it good-natured complaining in the sense of, oh, it's not working. Well, okay, this was new. We got to try, you never know. I believe, I haven't checked. I think you can go back and rewatch it. I do very much hope that Conzealand also preserves the recording and then later posts it to YouTube for rewatching. Although Dublin doesn't seem to have ever published their ceremony, and I'm not sure why. I can't find it. But never mind. We'll that's a different question.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it'll be available for rewatch tomorrow. I watched the Masquerade while I was having breakfast this morning, which I gather had some live streaming problems when it happened, but it worked perfectly well for me when I watched it on replay.
Okay. I tell you, one of the challenges we find of doing the awards coverage during a live ceremony was when it hiccups like that, it becomes rather difficult to figure out, have they announced someone? Are we, right. do we have a winner?
Yeah.
But fortunately, the Hugo Award administrators at Conzealand were also tweeting out the results. So I figured once the Conzealand Twitter feed said there was a winner, we could go ahead and go with that.
Sure. Yeah. Nobody can complain if we just follow the official announcement.
Exactly. Yes.
Anyway, that is the plan for tonight. We both have a lot to do before the ceremony goes live, so we should probably wrap up now. But thank you very much, Kevin, for joining me in this little test of StreamYard, and I very much am looking forward to tonight.
I had a final thought on this, Harrison. There is one thing that I've noticed in doing all of the things I've been doing, going to the parties at nights, which are essentially big Zoom calls. There is one challenge of parties, is that a large room with a party in it has lots of different conversations going on. It's very difficult for a party made out of a Zoom call to have more than one stream of conversation.
Sure.
We have, and those of us with loud voices like me really have to try and rein ourselves back, because you recognize you don't want to. But the other part, though, this is a very strange feeling I've had a few times throughout the event, is I've kept having this weird feeling that everybody else is in Wellington except me, and I'm missing them. And then I have to keep saying, no, hardly anybody is actually in New Zealand. Everybody else is in the same boat I am. And if I'm getting that impression, then I have to think they have done a successful job with the limits they had of pulling this off. So that was the thought I wanted to have before we go.
Yeah, no, and that's reasonable. I can assure you I'm not in Wellington, and much as I love the place, it's not too bad because the Hurricanes have got a bye this week, so I'm not missing a live game.
Yes, I wouldn't have minded the cooler weather, but where we go,
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, there it is. Thank you very much, Kevin, and very best of luck to everybody who is a finalist for the Hugo Awards. I know you can't all win, but you are all very much deserving of the honor of being finalists, and good luck to everyone tonight.
Yes, indeed. Good luck to everybody, and thank you for having me, Cheryl.
Okay. Time to go.